Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I am back with a new video, and today's video is my Lifetime movie review of Death of a Cheerleader. Y'all ready? Here we go. So Death of a Cheerleader is one of my favorites, and I consider a classic Lifetime film starring Kelly Martin as Angie and the Tori Spelling as Stacy. If you don't know Tori Spelling, I don't know what's wrong with you. You need to check her charges, boo. Like, she's the queen of teen dramas in the 90s. This movie was released on September 26th, 1994. September 26th is my birthday, so clearly this movie was made for me at 4 years old. So basically, this film starts with the tragic event that this movie is surrounding. Stacy knocks on a neighbor's door, or basically a stranger's door, and asks to use their phone because her friend started acting weird and she just needs to get home. So the strangers let her in so that she can make a phone call. It's the 90s, bear with us. She makes the phone call, nobody's home. So Kevin, who is one of the strangers, which put a pin in Kevin because he's an important part in this situation, at least in my opinion, decides, I'll take you home. So Kevin takes her home, and her parents still are not at home. Stacy decides to just walk to the neighbor's house, which, Kevin, you're in a car, just turn around and drive her next door, but doesn't matter. Stacy walks next door to the neighbor's house, and then you hear Stacy and Angie arguing, and then you hear a scream. Instead of Kevin calling the police or trying to figure out what is going on, Kevin says, my name is Bennett, I ain't in it, and he drives off. And Angie runs off. And then the next thing you know, we see Stacy screaming, help, I've been stabbed. Her neighbors call the police. We cut to a scene of Stacy's parents driving up to a crime scene, and then we cut to before all this stabbing event happens. Then the movie starts with some type of first day of school assembly. Never heard of this before in my life, but apparently at Santa Mara High School they do that. So the principal has all the students in the auditorium giving some type of TED talk about be the best, be excellent, some other just Instagram quotes. And Angie soaks it all up, okay? She is basically listening to Gary Vee. She says, I'm gonna be the best. She's telling her friend Jill, who is the voice of reason in this entire film, and Angie says, I'm going to do it all. I am going to be the editor of the yearbook. I am going to be a cheerleader. I'm going to be a LARC, which is some type of fancy social club. And Jill is like, whoa, relax. It's the first day. Like, let's get acquainted. We're freshmen. We don't know what's really going on here. Like, that's a lot. That sounds like a lot. But Angie doesn't care. Her vision board is full. Angie's old friend from back in the day, Jamie, decides to invite her over to have lunch with the Popular Girls. The Popular Girls consist of Stacy and her crew, and they wear pearls. I don't know what teenager is wearing pearls to high school, but it's the 90s. Again, bear with us. So Angie goes over there. They're, you know, kikiing, laughing it up because apparently Stacy is Bernie Mac up in here and is telling all the jokes. Not only are we introduced to Stacy and the crew, I'll call them the Pearl Girls for this particular video. We're introduced to them, and we are also introduced to Monica, who is minding her business for real throughout this entire film. But Stacy apparently does not like the fact that she minds her business and likes to wear black and not pearls and denim. Stacy proceeds to bully Monica. Monica shades Stacy, and then Stacy proceeds to call her a dog. Apparently Stacy likes calling people dogs because it's a motif throughout the entire film. I'm not sure why. Another scene where Angie tells Jill that she got a job in the office. I'm not entirely sure what school is allowing students to work in the office during school hours, but apparently this school does. I'm not entirely sure how she got this job, when she had time to fill out a job application. Was there an interview process? I'm completely confused, but apparently her and Stacy are gonna be working in the office. We cut to Angie's family. I'm gonna be honest with you, Angie's family is horrible. They pay her dust. She's telling her parents, you know, all these great things that happened on the first day. And they're like, yeah, that's cute, girl. Angie's sister is probably the worst because Angie is telling her sister all of these dreams that she has for her life, and she wants to be a writer like Danielle Steele, and she wants to have a house in the hills. And her sister's like, well, what money? You broke. When you have time to do that? Where's the support? We cut to Angie and Stacy at their office job, which Stacy's not even doing anything. She's just talking to her friends. Angie's doing most of the work and she looks stressed out. So what kind of job is this? And then Jamie comes and invites them both to the class trip to the ski lodge, which, what? So she agrees to go to on the ski trip. Tells her friend Jill, which voice of reason, and says, that trip's kind of pricey. Like, what you gonna do for money? And Angie says, that ain't nothing. Ain't no problem. I will work to get the $75 for this trip. And that's what this child does. Angie is babysitting. She's washing cars. She is doing home improvement. I mean, Angie is doing all of the things. Now, she has enough money for the trip. Jill says, look, girl, this Dick's Sporting Goods is expensive. What you need to do is rent some skis at the ski lodge, and then let's go borrow a suit from somebody because you can't afford nothing in here. I agree, Dick's Sporting Goods is expensive. So the trip comes. Angie is looking like a marshmallow. I'm not gonna lie, I agree with her. That suit looked hideous, but she was on a budget. Also on this trip is Monica. Her family wants her to fit in at school. So they forced her to go on this ski trip with Stacy and the Pearl Girls. On this trip is chaos. At one point, Stacy decides to read Monica's diary while she's in the shower. I'm not entirely sure why Monica brought her diary on a school trip, but again, it's the 90s, bear with us. So Stacy's reading it. Clearly it's not so nice things about her because, I mean, you make fun of her all the time. I wouldn't say nice things about you either. Monica sees them reading it. She gets upset. She threatens death upon Stacy. In my opinion, I would have been like Babs from Making the Band and said, let them fight, because at this point, let's scrap. You read my private information. Angie tries to stop the fight. She also tries to stop Stacy from reading it, which is a no-go. So the next scene, Angie becomes an outcast with Monica. Again, Stacy calls both Angie and Monica strays because she likes dog jokes. I don't know. Anyway, Angie now has to figure out how she's going to get back in the in crowd. I mean, she really wasn't in it, but she's really not in it now. Next, we cut to Larks. Now, the Larks are a social club. I did not see them at any point in time in the film doing any type of community service. If anything, they were terrorizing the community with their initiation process. During the hazing, they actually put a dash of mayonnaise on top of their heads, which is very ironic, but I'll let y'all figure that out for yourselves. Stacy and Angie become Larks, as well as Jamie all become Larks. They don't really do anything, so I don't really know what the point of that social club. Angie decides to try out for a yearbook editor as well. Not even sure if that's a thing, didn't know, but it's the 90s. And they put out a list of who are the final editors of the yearbook, and Angie does not make the team and is very upset. Jill has to remind her of who she is. And so then we cut to her trying out for cheerleading, which I'm not entirely sure why Angie decided to try out for cheerleading. It's not in her ministry. During the tryouts, Homegirl was terrible. I'm gonna be honest with you, it was tragic. She was offbeat. It was stiff. She forgot the words. I was like, girl, this is not for you. And that is okay. The coach has Stacy do the cheer, which is also stiff. Like, the cheer itself is just stiff. We can do it. Let's go. Go. Fire it up. Terrible cheer. I'm not sure who made that up. Fire them. So after the tryouts are done, they decide to have another end of the year assembly. I would think an end of the year assembly, maybe you're giving out awards for perfect attendance or honor roll, but no, this assembly is announcing the cheerleaders for next year. And there are only 4 spots. What? The principal is announcing who made cheerleading. They get up on stage and then they give them flowers like it's homecoming or prom queen. I have never seen anything like this in my life. It is very much so ridiculous. I'm pretty sure they don't do this with any other club, but apparently for cheerleading, the entire school must see the new squad. I have no idea. Angie is devastated. She is in the bathroom bawling her eyes out at the fact that she did not make cheerleading, even though, girl, that audition was trash. Garbage. I don't understand why you thought you were gonna make it. So she's walking home very sad. Her sister finds her and picks her up. We're gonna put a pin in this very thing I'm getting ready to tell you. Her sister is in the car eating vegetables with a knife. Apparently, she could not cut the vegetables up before she got in the car. Didn't have enough time. She had to cut the vegetables on the go in the car. I don't know anybody that does that. That makes no sense. But the reason why I say put a pin in it, because this knife is the weapon that Angie uses to stab Stacy to death. Anyway, Jill invites Angie to her boyfriend's party or somebody's party, and Angie comes up with the bright idea to invite Stacy to this party in hopes that they can become friends finally. So Angie calls Stacy's house. Stacy's not there. She tells Stacy's parents that there's a secret lark dinner for all of the girls and to just tell Stacy to get dressed and somebody will come and get her. We cut to Angie and her mother driving to a fake babysitting gig. Then she proceeds to ask her mom to walk home. It's only a couple of blocks, and she take the car back when the babysitting gig is over with. There are nothing but red flags in this statement that I just said. If I was Angie's mother, no, I am not walking in the dark back home because you would feel safer if there was a car parked out front. That doesn't make any logical sense. For the sake of this movie, Angie's mother agrees to walk home in the dark, might I add. Angie then runs from the back of the house, gets in the car, and then drives to Stacy's house. Stacy gets outside and realizes that it is not a lark party. It is not any of her Pearl girls. It is Angie. Stacy is very disappointed at this point. She cannot believe that it's Angie. Angie explains to her that it is a party. At this point, Stacy's kind of over it. She takes out some grass, as she says in the movie. It's the 90s, again, bear with us. Stacy's getting high as a kite. And she asks Angie, who all gonna be there? And how you get invited? Angie, instead of just lying and making something up, she proceeds to tell her that she got invited by a friend of a friend. And so Stacy gets suspicious and says, wait a minute. We not even really invited to this party. We getting ready to crash it? Nah, I don't do those things, okay? I get invited. I am not a plus one of a plus one of a plus one. So they get into an argument. Eventually, Stacy's like, listen, let me out the car. You're crazy. And then Angie gives this like weird speech about how like she's always admired her and she just wants to be her friend. It's strange. I get what she was trying to do, but baby girl, this is not Cynthia and Nene, okay? There's no friend contract. You've got to relax. Stacy is like, yo, you bugging, and she gets up and leaves. This is where we're back to the first initial scene at the beginning of the movie, where Stacy walks to some stranger's house and knocks on the door. Kevin dropping Stacy off, and something else, Angie is following them. And I just don't understand why Kevin doesn't think this is a red flag and to call the police. Stacy and Kevin are going to Stacy's house. We cut to a scene of Angie basically playing in her head how everybody's gonna make fun of her when they find out that this party scam didn't go off correctly. And so she's thinking about all the things that Stacy's gonna say to all of the Pearl girls and how they're gonna laugh at her. Lots of anxiety, it's very triggering. And she's just getting angry driving and just so mad. Teens are cruel. Stacy's gonna call you a dog in multiple forms and fashions. They're all gonna be giggling. It's just terrible. Angie actually picking up the knife that her sister left in the car because she was cutting vegetables in the car. So Angie grabs that knife and she walks up to Stacy and says, you ruined everything. And they go back and forth. And Stacy's like, girl, relax. Take a chill pill. I don't want to be your friend. You're creeping me out. Angie snaps. She stabs Stacy multiple times and then runs off. So then after stabbing and murdering Stacy, she then goes home, washes off the knife, and then decides to take a shower, which a lot of Lifetime movies have an infamous shower scene where a victim or the killer takes a long shower and they are washing off the blood and memories of whatever they just did. So then while she's in the shower, Angie's mom calls her and says, somebody's on the phone for you. And she finds out that Stacy is dead. Shock. There are a bunch of scenes of who done it and why. Everyone thinks it's Monica because at one point she did threaten to kill her on the ski trip, but Monica has an alibi. She wasn't even in town then. Shout out to James Avery, rest in peace. He was one of the agents in this film. Oh yeah. He is just not believing Angie because Angie took a polygraph test and she failed it. They bring her back in for questioning and she makes up some story about how I wanted to see a rated R movie with my friends, and so I lied to my mom about where I was going so that I could go see it. Which, girl, how you come up with that lie, but you couldn't lie to Stacy to get her to come to the party? The agents are just not believing that either. They know, absolutely know that she is the one who did it, but they don't have enough evidence that leads to her doing it. They just know she won't where she says she was. Months go by and Angie's living her best life. You know, she done got her hair blown out. She now wearing denims and pearls. They were getting ready to like disband as the Lark sisters. And Angie was like, no way, we should keep it going because I think Stacy would want that. And everyone's like, okay. And then they vote her like treasurer or captain or co-captain. I don't know. She's in charge now. She got a boyfriend now wearing his Littleman's jacket. She's a part of the student hotline. She's a candy striper. Meanwhile, she done murdered somebody. Her shifts as a candy striper, she goes to check on one of the patients and the patient is going off and they yell and they look at her and they're like, get away from me. I know who you are. Angie's stressed. And it starts to eat away at her. Her conscience is just eating away at her. So her life is now grand. She has this secret that she can't contain. Like, she murdered somebody. So she decides, after spending one last Christmas with her family, to admit to her parents that she indeed killed Stacy and that she's going to turn herself in. And so she turns herself in, and there is a court case. She ends up getting, I think, like second-degree murder because it wasn't premeditated. They have a taped confession of her telling in detail what happened. And I think she gets like 25 years in prison. I'm not sure. It ends with Jamie writing a letter to Angie in prison. The letter from Jamie is really strange because she's talking about herself most of it, which I'm like, girl, Angie is in prison. Like, I don't want to hear this. I'm in prison. So that was a weird way to end it. But yeah. So that's the end of A Death of the Cheerleader. It is based off of a true story. I actually did a Google search and went down a rabbit hole of the real story. I highly recommend going to research that because it's nuts. But overall, this is one of my favorites. I absolutely love this movie. The 1994 version, I don't know about the 2019 version. I'm not watching it. I'm gonna leave that with Gen Z. I hope you liked the video. Hope you loved my review. Please give it a thumbs up and comment below and let me know any of your Lifetime movie suggestions. I will watch and review them in the future. Yeah, I have more of these videos coming up soon, and I will talk to you guys next time. Peace.